Hello, everyone. I'm Denise Cusack, and I'm a clinical herbalist who volunteers with the Veterans Resiliency Holistic Clinic. I live in Wisconsin, so I always volunteer remotely. And today I'm going to talk a little bit about herbal support for resiliency. And I did that right away. So there are a lot of ways that we can use herbs, and a lot of people think of, just tea or, salve or things like that. But we also can have herbs as a part of spice blends in daily life. Tinctures and glycerites are something that people may have heard of, where you see the little bottles with the droppers. Tonics, which we often use, for highly nutrition based plants to try to get the most of those vitamins and minerals from the plants into our bodies. Capsules, those are often really easy to use. So it's like a powdered herb put into capsules, and there also can be blends that way. And then, a lot of those nowadays, depending on where they need to go, they have an enteric coating, like if you want to take probiotics or something, so that they don't dissolve until they're in the correct location. There are also external herbs, that can help, like with joints or skin issues, like salves, ointments, balms. What a lot of people don't think of in herbs also is using them, in baths, showers, foot soaks, and things like that too, to help us relax and calm ourselves. Massage oil, and even in the time of COVID, it can be great self-care to have something that is an aroma that you really enjoy, that makes you feel really comfortable and relaxed, and to use that for even just self-massage of your shoulders or your hands, or to warm different parts of your body and increase circulation. And with that, that's aromatherapy as well. And you can use essential oils as aromatherapy, but you can also directly use plants by even simmering plants in boiling water to, like cinnamon and clove and orange and allspice that we do this time of year. Even simmering it in a pot so that the aroma goes throughout your home, and you have like, we all love that feeling, or fresh cookies or something. So even just putting apple peels or something like that into a pot and simmering that over a stove can release those aromas into the air, and that helps us feel maybe more relaxed or calm, or in the moment. And you can also do, I mentioned things like allspice and cloves and cinnamon, but it can also be plants. Like if you really enjoy peppermint and you have a headache, you can simmer some peppermint, and the essential volatile oils can go into the air in your home. And it smells wonderful, and it makes you feel good too. And also, one thing to always remember is that food is medicine. And so it's really important to kind of look at what types of foods that we eat that also contribute to our health. And so the first category in there is really herbs, adaptogens, and mushrooms. And when we're looking at what types of plants can help us remain calm or feel, support like a healthy sleep, or just an overall like wellness and overall health. One of the things that is really simple that most people are familiar and comfortable with is tea. And there are a lot of herbs that we use for calming and helping to regulate our nervous system, including a lot of things that you've probably heard or seen at the grocery store: chamomile, lemon balm, catnip. Hawthorn isn't as common in some of those, but you do see it in some of the like traditional medicinals blends at the store. Passion flower is in a lot of the nighty night or cup of calm type of blends. California poppy, oat straw and oat tops, and oatmeal, of course. It's really nourishing for our central nervous system, and very calming, and it's nutritious. Gotu kola is one that's really great for like mental clarity and focus. Skullcap is very calming. Motherwort, hops, linden. And tea is really easy to use. That's the thing, you can find different types of tea at the grocery store. You don't have to blend your own. There are a lot of brands that have really great combinations of like passion flower, California poppy that help calm, that are great before bed. And one of the tips for that is, what we do as herbalists is we often steep our plants a little bit longer. So often, you get little tea bags, and it'll tell you that you need to steep it, 3 to 5 minutes. But, one way that you can do it where you kind of have an enhanced intensity of more of a medicinal herb is by, you could use 2 tea bags, and you could also steep it more, like 10 to 15 minutes, so that you can get more of that, those herbal components, deeply into that water. So some of those, I have a handout that I'm going to give access to everyone to, but like just some of the herbs that are in the handout and that I just mentioned, we can go over. Chamomile is one that's really common. It's really easy to find, and it has this flavonoid in there that is anxiolytic. And what that means is it helps calm us and support our nervous system. And the chamomile is also used often in like tummy tamers and things like that to help digestion, stomach. It's in the family of feverfew that people use sometimes for headaches, but it has that. It's so gentle. It's one of those plants that that is safe with, even if you're on medications generally, and things like that. So having a chamomile tea is something that is very calming and relaxing. Catnip, and yes, the same as you give to your cat. We call it cat mint as well when we're trying to differentiate in some ways. But it actually is a nervine, which means that it is calming and supports relaxation, but it's not drowsy, or it doesn't make you drowsy. And that's another one that's really, it's so aromatic and comforting, and it's often found in nighttime tea blends. Lemon balm is another one, very safe, very common, easy to find. And it's also anxiolytic and calming. And it is a mild sedative. And so it's often used to help calm and relax, but that lemon, aroma in there also, it's uplifting. So lemon balm is one of those like sunny, bright, happy herbs because of that. Passion flower is another one. That's what the picture is. It's beautiful. It's an amazing plant, and it grows wild throughout most of the south of the US. And it's really calming. It has a lot of flavonoids. It helps soothe our nervous system. And it's really wonderful for before bedtime because it's not sedating. Some people, and this is with all plants, some people respond more to that where they do feel a little more like it makes them sleepy, and some people don't. But it's one of those plants that generally, like if you see it in a nighty night or a calming blend tea over the counter, like at the local grocery store, it's a really good plant that is safe at those levels to use. And you can also find it in often like glycerins or tinctures as well, because it is such a wonderful calming plant. Gotu is one that, that one is not as much what people see for calming, but what it is that it's so wonderful for memory and mood, and it is neuroprotective. So it helps us, and it's anti-inflammatory. So it helps with all of those like myelin sheaths that we have in our brain and central nervous system, and helps reduce inflammation, which can also improve our mood through that process. And it's been, there are a lot of clinical trials on it because it helps our memory and concentration, which, is a really good thing as we all are getting older, myself included, to have some of those really like brain supporting herbs as well. Skullcap is another one. This is one of those bitter herbs, and bitter herbs are really good because what it does is that I know Karen talks a lot about that vagus and, vagal nerve and all of that. And bitter stimulates that and actually does a few things. One of them is that it helps our digestion because it stimulates all those digestive juices and chemicals in our body to digest our food properly. But it also stimulates that nerve that also helps increase some of that calming and regulating of our central nervous system. So with skullcap, it's a little bitter. So you want some of that bitter, but if you were going to have skullcap all on its own, you'd go, why are you making me drink this? This is horrible. So it's one of those that's great in a blend, or you can often find skullcap, in tinctures or glycerites. It's really gentle, but it also is really effective. And a lot of people take that just for calm and regulation throughout the day. And it's great, like with passion flower or something, or lemon balm, catnip in the evening for before bed. Another one that kind of crosses over, we're looking at a lot of the herbs that we use that we can make teas out of or tinctures. A lot of herbs are also what we can find in food. And oats is one of those things. Oats are really calming and cooling. And what they do is they're very nutritious and they help kind of calm our frayed nerves. People that are really hot and irritated a lot, that helps soothe and moisten all of that, our mucosa as well. And it has a lot of nutrients. It's so rich in vitamins and minerals. And so having teas that have either the oat tops or oat straw is really, really wonderful because it gets a lot of those vitamins and minerals in us. It helps calm and soothe us. And, it's so easy to find, just even as oatmeal or granola bars or, the dried breakfast cereals and things like that, because basically you could have that with some really great bright colored berries and yogurt and you'll hit like, 20% of what we're talking about here. So it's really wonderful. Oats, as you know, are also used a lot in baths because it also soothes and coats the outside of our body. So if you can imagine that if we're itchy and hot and we take an oat bath for poison ivy, that's that same kind of thing in our digestive tract. It's kind of cooling and soothing all throughout. Adaptogens is another category. We call them herbs because they are herbs, but they're often we use a lot of roots in adaptogens, not all. Holy basil is one, for example, where we use the leaves as well. But a lot of our most common adaptogens are the root. And a lot of those, it's like that really earthy and grounding and warming types of plants. And what adaptogens do is that, there have been a lot of clinical studies on these different plants, and they help our body adapt to stressors. So our body is looking always for that homeostasis. It wants to find our equilibrium. And so adaptogens are really wonderful because they are restorative. They help us regulate pretty much all of our systems in our body to find that homeostasis and find that center. And so adaptogens are something that is recommended to be taken over time. You don't just take it once and, or here and there. Those are often where you want to keep taking them because they help your body just manage stress over time. There are a lot of adaptogens, but just a few of them, like ashwagandha is one, which is a nice warming, it's a tonic, so it has a lot of, nutritive qualities, as well as it's considered that it improves vitality. It's a lot of these herbs are also used in traditional Chinese medicine for a long time because of these properties. And it is considered to be something that's very calming, increases your vitality and energy over time. And so that is really wonderful. A lot of times these days, especially, we're lucky that adaptogens may have been harder to find in the past, but a lot of them are in tea blends today that you can find just, at the grocery store. And a lot of them are in our multivitamins. And there are a lot of different multivitamins out there that have all of your, necessary things, A, B, C, D, E, and then they have some adaptogens in there as well. The eleuthero is also another one that supports our immune system as well. And that's considered often for people who have like a deep trauma. It helps improve like stamina, vitality, and give more of an energy and reducing fatigue as well. And so that's another wonderful plant to take, over time. Some of these also, like ashwagandha, for example, you'll even find it in like hot chocolate blends, which is really nice because those roots are really earthy and they go really well with cocoa. Mushrooms is another category that a lot of people are, we're finding out more and more about them, and so they're becoming more and more available. But there are a lot of different mushrooms that have been used, particularly in Chinese medicine, again, for, hundreds, if not thousands of years, because they have a really great, like immune support and general overall health and wellness support. Like reishi is one of those plants. It's been called the, the plant of immortality because of how wonderful it is at reducing fatigue and improving stamina and, vitality. So there are different types of mushrooms that are, They're the mushrooms that we eat that are wonderful to put in soups, like the shiitake and maitake and things like that. And those are all really great. You know, being able to include those in soups, stews, stir fries, and all of that, they have a lot of wonderful properties. And then we have some, lion's mane is one, you know, I know that they grow wild where I am and we can find them, but you can also find them just in powders or tinctures or things like that. And then you know, with tinctures, you have the alcohol extraction, but with the powders, it's nice because they've already done the type of extraction. A lot of these mushrooms, they need both an alcohol and a water extraction, you know, so that they get the full chemical components that are really wonderful for our bodies in the mushrooms. And a lot of those powders have already done that. And so all you need to do is just stir it into a smoothie. Or, you know, what I like to do is I'll put some of the mushrooms in if I'm making like bone broth or a stock or in a soup too, just so that my whole family gets them. So if you have other members who are like mushrooms, that's a really great way because, you know, it's not really, you're not really changing the flavor or texture, but you're getting all of those good components in there. You can also find, again, like these, there are mushroom blends with cocoa and maca and things like that that are really amazing as hot chocolate and that taste really great and are really easy to find. So often you can just go and find like, I have a few links in the handout where you can find just like a mushroom cocoa blend for something. It's nice to be able to relax at the end of the day and have those really great beneficial properties. And so, of course, we also don't want to forget, you know, our food and nutrition. And of that, you know, we have a lot of things that we include in our daily life anyway that we consider as herbalists that are really critical and important to include in our daily diets. Probiotics is one of those. And probiotics can be, you know, that someone takes a capsule, but probiotics also are, there are a lot of foods that have really great pre and probiotics that we can include in our daily routines. And there are a lot of studies that have shown that that vagus nerve is really important to the gut-brain axis, and that, you know, so our gut health can actually directly impact our mental health and our mood and all of that. And so finding what the probiotics do is that they help increase the healthy and happy gut flora and microbia in our gut. And there are also prebiotics. And what those do is that they feed those healthy bacteria so that you want the healthy bacteria to go wild in our gut. And you don't want the bad bacteria to be the ones that are dominant. So by having probiotics and prebiotics in our food, what we're doing is we're increasing our gut health, we're feeding the healthy gut bacteria, and we're repopulating our entire, you know, digestive system and gut microbia with healthy microbes that will contribute to us feeling a lot better on a day-to-day basis, having better mood, better sleep, feeling more calm and regulated. And so probiotics are found in a lot of different foods. You can find like naturally fermented vegetables, so sauerkraut, if it's naturally not a vinegar based, you know, a lot of those are like the natural fermented sauerkrauts that you can find at the store. Those are really great they have all of those different bacteria for our gut. Kimchi, if you like the spicy stuff. And lacto fermented vegetables as well. You know, and you can find those at the grocery store. Sometimes you'll find like the different fermented pickles that are naturally fermented instead of in vinegar or things like that. And if you're not sure about all of those vegetables, even yogurt has all of those different bacteria, the healthy type. And a lot of yogurts naturally have that, but these days they also add like lactobacillus and other types of healthy bacteria into the yogurt. So to make sure you get a really good spectrum and not just one type. Kefir is another that is like that drinkable yogurt. I don't know, you know, right now it's really popular, the Greek yogurts that you can drink. Those also have a lot of the really healthy bacteria in there. Also in the picture, you know, there's miso and kombucha. Kombucha is one of those, you know, that is still not as mainstream, but if you're not able to digest dairy, kombucha is one of those where they make all these amazing flavors now, like ginger, elderberry, different things. And they're almost like fizzy sodas, but they are, what happens is the bacteria in the culture actually eats the sugar and it makes it fizzy. So it's like drinking a soda, but it's healthy for you without any of those high fructose corn syrups. And then I'm going to go back to just a little bit on the prebiotics, which is that, you know, those feed the bacteria that we want to have. And so those can be found, there's some specialty things like you're thinking, oh, chicory root or dandelion greens, but also just garlic, onions, leeks, bananas, the oats again that we were talking about, as well as seaweed and things like that. And seaweed's really great for you too, because it has the iodine and all of these different vitamins that we often are lacking in our modern diets. So a lot of those foods will naturally give you prebiotics. And then if you just add some, yogurt and things like that into your diet, you're set. So a lot of herbs that we use are also found in food. So like turmeric and ginger, black pepper, things like that, we often use in herbalism because of their anti-inflammatory properties, joint support, overall health. But they're also what is found in a lot of common herb and spice blends in all cultures. Pretty much every culture around the world, you'll find that they have some unique spice blend. And when you really break it down, you find out that those spices that they use actually have antibacterial, antimicrobial, or all of these amazing properties that help support their health naturally. And so pretty much every indigenous culture in the world has some type of food that they use in that way. And the things that we know about that are more common for us finding in the US, we find like curry powders and that Chinese 5-spice or pumpkin pie spice blends, or all of these different things that we use, like the turkey, when you season your turkey or your stuffing, at Thanksgiving, they contain a lot of these herbs that are actually really wonderful for our health. So you can find a lot of these things without having to go to the specialty, area where you're only purchasing like a tincture. Obviously, in some cases, it's really great to have a concentrated amount of something if you have, a chronic issue. But with turmeric, for example, that's one that we have, it's often in joint blends if you're looking like at capsules for joint support or joint aches and pains and like muscle recovery and things like that. It also affects, though, our serotonin and dopamine, which is what improves our mood. There are actually, everyone was looking at turmeric for the longest time on like joint health and anti-inflammatory. And then they discovered, wow, it's actually calming people down and helping people's mood and improving, people's, ability to regulate their, feelings and all of that. So it actually, because they're finding also that inflammation contributes often to a lot of even depression and regulating our just overall feelings of anxiety or calm. And so those anti-inflammatory components in there also are not only helping our joints, but they then help our mood. Ginger is another one that's really easy to find everywhere. I love grating ginger into pretty much everything, stir fries, slicing it up and putting it in my cup of tea when I'm steeping a tea bag. But it's often combined with turmeric because it helps. It's an anti-inflammatory. And, there's certain herbs, like when you use them together, such as turmeric, ginger, and black pepper, it's a synergy and they enhance the absorption of the other plants so that everything really is better absorbed and used. And amazingly enough, when you go and look at a lot of the curry blends and curry powders and things like that, they contain all three of those together already. And so often you can go and find a really great curry powder, and you can tell if it is rich in turmeric because you're going to look at the curry powder and it's going to be that bright orange, like in the photo here, that bright color. That means that it's turmeric rich. There are other blends where they use different types of spices and they're more brown or green, depending on the type of curry. But that's one of those tips. You're like, oop, I know it has that. Ginger also is found in teas because it helps calm nausea. It's often used for people who suffer from like cyclical vomiting, or, women who are in like their first trimester and feeling very ill. So it's also used for like motion sickness and, people who get queasy on flights and things because it helps calm our stomach. So that's one of those great herbs. I always keep ginger tea bags, just even in my emergency first aid kit for that reason, because it helps with nausea. Sage is another one that's really common. it's wonderful in all of these dishes. People use it a lot with meat dishes. It's in our stuffing, it's in our turkey, this time of year. And it's been shown in studies that it helps with cognitive and neurological function. It also is really wonderful, like for upper respiratory, we use it a lot in steams. But you can find that's in so many different spice blends that you have probably right in your spice cabinet. Cinnamon is another, there are a lot, there are a lot more in the handout, but cinnamon is one of those. It's also, it's warming, it's stimulating. Cinnamon helps support healthy blood sugar. And, for those of us, if we're kind of in, getting into that pre-diabetes or having fluctuating blood sugar, helping to regulate that can also help regulate, our moods and how we're feeling generally, because we're not having that wildly swinging blood sugar. But it also it's one of those smells that not everyone, but most people, we probably really enjoy it. It makes us feel good. It reminds us of fall. And it's in a lot of like the pumpkin pie spice blends. We use it in apple cider, mulling blends, and all of that. And so that's one that's really wonderful to be able to use regularly, because it has that warming and stimulating and uplifting. So with foods, we all know that, we should eat a rainbow. That's kind of what we've been told. And a lot of people take supplements to help themselves, get all of these different vitamins and minerals. But, there are a lot of foods that also contain all of these properties. So being able to just increase some of these healthy foods in our diet, if possible, can really help our mood and our overall wellness. The better we feel, the more energy we have. And I think a lot of that helps. So why they always say eat a rainbow is because antioxidants are, they help protect our cells, they help rebuild our cells, and they help repair everything, in our bodies cellularly. So antioxidants are, the tip with them is that they're in bright colors. You get higher antioxidants when you get into those like bright blueberries and bright red berries. And a lot of those also have anthocyanins, which also help protect us with, during cold and flu season, and just our general health and wellness as well. So by eating, looking at that, it's great. You can take oatmeal and combine it with a lot of really brightly colored, berries, get some blueberries and blackberries and things like that with all of those really rich antioxidants, and add some yogurt, and you're having a really healthy breakfast that also is helping support your wellness, in addition to it just being really good. So with things, omegas are often what we, hear about when we're talking about healthy brain, and that's found, in salmon, obviously, but also there's, excuse me, in flax oil. And flax is something that you can find often in like, those healthy muffins, or ground flax to sprinkle over your smoothie. Magnesium helps calm and regulate our central nervous system as well. And while some people can take a magnesium supplement, it's also found in really dark green leafy vegetables, in nuts like cashews and avocado and bananas, in beans. So having some of those foods added to your diet helps increase your magnesium, which helps calm and regulate your nervous system. Zinc is one that helps us with our immune function and supports a healthy immune function and immune response. And that again, seeds, pumpkin seeds, and in all of the mushrooms that we were just talking about. So having that included in your diet can help support that as well. And of course, B vitamins are where we have cognitive function and healthy sleep. And, if we're not able to sleep, often that contributes to stress, anxiety, and stress and anxiety contribute to not being able to sleep. It's a vicious circle. And so things like chicken and avocado and a lot of the fortified breakfast cereals will have all the B vitamins. And then, of course, like I said, the antioxidants, those help repair cells, and that's really colorful foods and bright foods. And that falls into, you get some of that vitamin C in some of those bright colored citrus fruits as well, which helps lower cortisol and helps us with our mood as well. And so rose hips is another one that we use in herbalism quite often in tea blends, because you get a lot of that vitamin C every single time you steep it. And so you can find rose hips often in tea blends when you're looking at the store. So of course, self-care, with herbalism and herbs, it's wonderful to be able to use all of these different herbs that we have to help support our health and contribute to our, feeling a lot better on a day-to-day basis. But some of that also falls into, self-care and finding a routine and ritual in which we can use these things, all these different tools to support our wellness in general. So staying healthy, obviously helps us emotionally and helps us stay well. But there's also ways, to pamper ourselves, not only a hot cup of tea with calming herbs or, nutritive, supportive herbs, I can say that, in the evening before we go to bed can help calm. But also, if you can take a warm bath and have, lavender, for example, is very calming, clary sage, you have different um, aromatherapies that have been found to help calm us, but if you can't take a bath, I know a lot of people, especially those of us that have different injuries, it's hard to get in and out of the bathtub safely. You can even just have a foot soak where you have some, like rose petals or, different types of essential oil, such as lavender and, maybe a little bit of a sweet orange or something like that, and soak your feet. You can also add Epsom salts in there if you want to help get some of that magnesium absorbing into your body as well to help support your nervous system. And being able to do that where you have a ritual and you calm yourself, you have a nice cup of tea, you have a foot soak or a nice warm bath or a hot shower, and then um, have that be a part of your routine and your ritual every day that can help calm you so that you get a good night's sleep, which can help us all remain calm and reduce anxiety. There's also, so with that, it's also just finding ways to eat, your meals and keep a routine. You know, uh, some people think there's a disconnect between herbalism and eating well, and it's really actually tied so closely together because food is medicine, as Aristotle said, right? So going to bed at the same time. If you do herbal supplements, set timers so that you always remember to do it. I keep a little thing if I have capsules or if I have tinctures, where I set my watch tells me when it's time so I don't forget. So everything's always consistent. And of course, don't forget to get outside and get some fresh air or sunshine and um, try to find ways to do things that you enjoy to take care of yourself because herbs are one tool in the toolbox. It's a big toolbox. We have a lot of things, and so nothing usually stands alone. It's always that we find a way to combine things to support our wellness that help make us feel better, and that's what makes us resilient as well, is that we have all of these wonderful people doing these presentations each month. We have all of these tools now in our toolbox, and by combining them with eating well and finding herbs to help support our a healthy nervous system and our mood, we have everything covered. We have like all of the legs on our table, so that really helps support us overall. And so for some of this, I know I went over really quickly on some of the herbs and teas and things. I have a handout that can be downloaded and we can share it out to, I made it a brief URL, the tiny URL, VRHC Calm, but I can also have Karen send that out and we can post it with the videos when they go live. But that has links to a bunch of different recipes, things to try where you can increase some of these herbs. There's also just some links to some products that are out there. I'm not a salesperson for any of them, but just because, sometimes it's overwhelming to think, oh my gosh, there are all these herbs and what do I do? But there are a lot of brands where they have like a nighty night blend or a calming blend, and that are really easy to find just at your local grocery store over the counter. And like I said, you can just steep it a little bit longer or, use 2 tea bags and have, if you feel like you'd like a more concentrated tea that you can drink throughout the day. I like to make a big giant canning jar full of tea where I steep a whole bunch of it and I'll let it sit for half an hour so that it's really concentrated. And then I can just pour it out. In the summer, I pour it out and have iced tea. That way it's not diluted too much when I add ice to it. Or, you can warm it up and drink it warm throughout the day or hot. But it's nice to have that so you don't always have to feel like, oh, I have to make more tea. I have to make more tea. You've just made a big giant thing and it can last, a day or two. And then you can just drink it throughout. And then, when you have your little reminders about other things, don't forget to try your mushroom powder, every day at noon. then that'll help kind of do that too. It also has some links to some of those mushrooms and different recipes of mushrooms, as well as some of those, like the hot cocoa powder that also includes some of those really good supporting immune function and healthy components in some of the medicinal, what we consider medicinal mushrooms. So if anybody has any questions or anything else, I'd love to hear from you.